So the road to the knockout stage players have been leaked, and as a result there is a trading opportunity. So just before the video does start, a quick little ad on a trading service I offer over on Twitch for the cheapest trading guides out there for just £4, €4 or free with Amazon Prime. You'll receive daily trading and investing guides covering PlayStation, Xbox and PC with an array of methods covering all budgets. And I've been trading for over 10 years, making over 100 million in multiple different FIFAs, and now for the last 4 years I've made 10 million coins in just the first month. So in today's video we're going to be talking through the road to the knockouts that have been leaked. We're going to be talking about what we're going to be looking for when it comes to the investments. We're going to look about what sort of prices we're looking to pay, when we're going to look to sell it, and so on and so on. Basically just walk you guys through the investment in general. First off, let's go and show you guys all the players that are being leaked. So far being leaked, we've got Openda, a mid-range pacey player who's, I don't believe, used for evolutions, but he's just like a very low to mid-range meta player. Bonucci, someone who is quite good for advanced SBCs, and I'll show you in a second how we know that. And then Machado, who is a bit of a pleb. So the other leaks are the likes of Fernandez, again a relatively low tier meta card, not too far away from fodder. Haaland, obviously one of the best cards in the game. We then move to the next of Saka, again mid-tier meta, and then we move to the likes of Pau, very, very low tier meta, but just off of being SBC fodder. Kalulu, really scraping the barrel with low tier meta right there, maybe even a bit of advanced SBC sort of fodder. And then we've got recently Bruno Guilhermes with the likes of being an objective, which there isn't really anything to do with this early in FIFA, as there's no special link investments and there's anything overly too mainstream in terms of being used for the objective. And as of recently there has also been a Lima, another just like the PAL, very, very low tier sort of meta, which there is a bit of weak and need demand for. Now that we've gone through the cards, what we're going to do is explain to you guys how we know what sort of cards we're going to buy. Basically, they've got to fit into one of two categories, because they've got to be demanded out of packs, which means one, they've got to be demanded in a weekend league sense, or two, they've got to be demanded in being used for SBC sense. So someone like Bruno Fernandez is obviously weak in league. Same with Saka, same with the likes of Pau. Kalulu not so much, but then what I can actually show you is that Kalulu doesn't sit at discard, and that's a really, really good thing to show. Because if someone doesn't sit at discard, it means that they just have constant demand. So you can see right here that his discard would be 700 coins. But he doesn't sit at that, he sits about 800, 900. Now, we saw this happen with the likes of Palacios, or where he wasn't quite sitting at discard. He was very, very cheap, but didn't quite sit at discard. And since going out of packs, he's managed to go from 1 to 1.8k, therefore showing that, yeah, he is actually being used for SBCs, so he's not a bad little buy. But there we go, back to the likes of Kalulu. So carrying going through the players then, we then get to Bruno Guilhermes, again objective, so it's irrelevant. And then Lima is also weakly demanded. The final road to the knockout stage we have is the likes of Osherman, which again is another relatively high tier card, which has the weakly demand. So at the moment, no cards are undesired, which means they all actually do quite well out of packs. And then we get to the three that the Champions League themselves tweeted out. Openda is obviously meta, and then we got Machado and Bonucci. So let's go and show you Machado and Bonucci. So we head over here and type in Machado. Now, the thing we can see right here is that he wasn't quite sitting at discard, because his discard would have been 300, 350. But he really was only sitting about 120 coins above that, which doesn't make me the biggest fan of him. On top of that, he isn't really anything too special. You know, a default left wing back is awful when it comes to SBCs. He's not really anything special, because I mean, if we go and look at left backs for like generic SBCs, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that can be converted. Unless you were to luck out and get a SBC that lets you use, a 5 at the back generic SBC, it's the only time I can really see him ever being used. So don't really see there being much demand for the likes of Machado. Bonucci, on the other hand, is quite an interesting card. So if we head over to Bonucci. Now the reason Bonucci is quite interesting is because Bonucci's minimum is 600, which is quite high for a non-rare, but he never sat at that. He sat at 700 coins despite being quite an expensive non-rare. And this is basically because he's Italian. He's Italian in the Bundesliga, and then on top of that, he's also a high-rated non-rare. So, for example, if we look at Griffo, he's the exact same thing. He never really sits too low because he's really useful for some of the generic SBCs. So I think that Bonucci, when we get marquee matchups tonight, is actually going to be a really, really nice investment, because he should actually do quite nice. You know, he should be relatively progressive out of packs. It's a little bit like if again we go back to Team 2 and we look at Palacios. Palacios is very useful for SBCs, and again he never quite sat discard and went from 900 to 1.8, and he'll just continue rising through the week, and we should see the exact same thing happen with Bonucci. So now that we've identified the reasons why they would go up and the reasons why we'd want to, buy them, we're now going to talk about the price we're going to buy them at. Now, there's a little rule of thumb that I like to use when it comes to the price I'm going to buy them at. Now, I'm obviously not going to get them at the prices they were before the leak occurred, because obviously, now there's more demand for them because of the anticipation of them rising out of packs. So the rule of thumb that I use is I will pay no more than half the price between the price they were before and the price they were with the initial rise. So for example, a Pender went from, let's say 10k, and he went up here to 15k. So if a Pender went from 10 to 15, I will happily buy a Pender up to 12.5. Now it is a risk because I'm buying someone inflated, but it's it's a gamble I'm willing to take. And again, we can do the exact same thing here with Bonucci. And the reason I do this is because I can see that the card can get hyped up so much. But I'd take a middle ground risk. So Bonucci went from 700 to 1.4. So I would be willing to basically pay just under, or just around about a K. Because the idea is, again, if he's this rare and can get that much pre-hype, then he should do well out of packs. And even if he doesn't do as well, then I'm buying him with a bit of a safety net, because I'm not buying him at the absolute peak of what he did in the hype. I'm buying him in between. And again, we can go and do this with the likes of Osherman. There we go. And we go Owly yesterday. Let's have a little look. So previously it was 50. He then went up to 61. So again, 11k difference. I'd basically go and buy him for 55k, which should be relatively reasonable prices. Because again, using this method will give you a reasonable price, which you really shouldn't struggle getting the cards at. So these are the trends that we saw last year. There's a few different categories I've got for you guys. So starting off with the category of like generic SBC fodder. So they went out packs on the 7th, where we can see Terrier was 700 coins, and Terrier proceeded to rise from 700 coins to about 1.6k, and he did that by Monday. So basically in three days he doubled in price and nearly plus 1k. Not much of a rise after that, and that would have been to do with generics. The high-rated SBC fodder players, Schick. Now I don't believe we have any of these players yet, but I imagine we will eventually. Now he went out of packs at 6.5k and proceeded to go up to 8.8k for presumably some generic SBCs. Same sort of thing right here, 6.8k went up there to 8.8k. We then get Messi, didn't do anything too crazy out of packs. In the pre-hype, I believe he went from about 260 to 300. He then went down and then rebounded there. Peaking on the Monday. We then get to the likes of Frederick Valverde. Once again, he went out of packs here on the Friday, didn't rise too much in the hype, and then peaked on the Monday, and then proceeded to go down. And then finally get to Aubameyang, which again, we can see that he rose into the hype, or just rose with the market, and then he peaked there on the 7th and went down. So actually, Aubameyang was overinvested, which is interesting. And then his second peak was that he dropped even more on the Monday. So the overall trend last year seemed to be that metas would peak on a Sunday. There is a chance of stuff being overinvested, which would happen with Aubameyang. The cheap players such as Kalulu and Bonucci you are holding Monday or whenever there's a generic SBC by the looks of things. And if they do start leaking some high-rated fodder players, you're going to go and hold on to them till, I believe... Sorry, I didn't get the... You're going to hold on to them till Tuesday and... Tuesday, yeah. And they hold value till Thursday. So if there's not something good by Tuesday, you can wait till Thursday. And I believe that is all she wrote, really. That's like you got the leaks. You buy the players halfway between what they peaked at and what they were pre. And again, you're either going to go and sell the players before 6 PM on Sunday if they're nicely inflated, especially if you want to play it safe, because again, you might get an Aubameyang. If not, the meta players you're going to hold till Sunday, and the fodder ones you're going to go and hold. You can hold all the way through to Thursday unless they do well before. But that is that. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video.